Hey guys, how are you? Welcome to another edition of Balance Over Perfect. All things balance and trying to cut out perfect, because perfection is a slippery slope. It is just something where we are putting ourselves on this high pedestal and we feel that, trying to reconnect. We feel that, hey guys, I'm actually doing this live as well on Facebook, so if you're hearing it in and out, no worries. But with balance over perfect, perfection is a tough thing to achieve, and a lot of us are really still trying to do it. And so when we think about, trying to be perfect in our jobs, perfect in our relationships, perfect with our health and fitness, that's a big top of mind one, especially this time of year when it's like, come on, dude. I just want to enjoy Thanksgiving. I just want to drink as much champagne and beer as I want. And so when we think about going through our day-to-day, how can we really start finding that balance? And today I'm talking about success and how we measure that. Because and I have to point this out to my podcast lovers, my Facebook Live lovers. I am not in a recording studio. I don't have sound in yet, so you're hearing my dogs at all times. Again, I'm always reiterating that my life is not perfect because I have dogs everywhere, crazy this and there. So success markers. Okay, so we've been told in our lives that you got to make a lot of money. You got to be at this job title that this makes you that status. And you're going to be completely happy with all of that. Am I right? Because I was told, and this is just the generation that we grew up with, that you got to go to school. You got to at least get some type of credibility underneath you. You got to make this kind of money. And then there you go. Your life's perfect. It's awesome. Well, I've been there before. I've been there with the money, the status, the quote unquote happiness. And it just really just doesn't cut it. And I don't know if it's something that you guys can relate to where, hey, it is just, this is the mold that I was put into. Now, how do I get out? And so it's really taking it a step back and saying, we just got to ask ourselves, what's the story that we've been telling ourselves? And that story is that we got to live stressed, we got to live overwhelmed, and we also have to make the money and feel like we're running with the riches. And so maybe that's not your story, but maybe your story is that, you got to, work round clock because that's what success looks like. Or you got to, you got to come home and say if you're, you're working at home, you're a stay-at-home mom, and you're like, my success is that everything has to look perfect in my household. And that's very defeating. It's very defeating when you have the story that this is what success looks like. So success looks like perfection from a lot of us. And we know that's not true, but we still beat ourselves up every single day because of that story. So I'm going to challenge you guys today of really being really intentional on challenging that perception of what your story is. So like for me, working around clock, feeling stressed all the time, feeling overwhelmed, thinking that the dollar amount in my bank account is my measure of success. The status in my career is my success. So if that's something for you, how can we take that story and say, okay, that was a story that I've been really telling to myself pretty much my whole life. Now, how do I take that? How do I find my new way? And that's going to come with new habits. New habits is really going to be the new thing to get you out of that. Because when we think about the story, we've been either telling this to ourselves for X amount of years, and we always have to say to ourselves, is it giving us happiness? Is it giving us the success that we really want deep down? Because that's the challenging part. So when we think about success, it really is an inside job. It's the job that makes us feel fulfilled inside. And you may be like, on the other end, I don't even know what that feels like. Because that's how I was for quite some time. I don't even know what success really feels like, to feel fulfilled, to feel happiness, to feel like it's definitely moving the needle on a daily basis for me. So I want you guys to take a step and say, okay, what new habits, what habits have I been doing that has been getting me to the success that I don't feel good about. That I wake up every day feeling overwhelmed. That I wake up every day feeling not enough. That's not fun feelings, guys. So I would challenge you to say, okay, what's one thing that you can do today that's going to make you feel successful? So I talk about a lot of productivity. And one thing that I do every single day is a brain dump. I get everything out on the piece of paper, and it's not a to-do list, it's a brain dump. I get everything out, and I say, okay, this is what I got to do today. Before, and this I've been doing this brain dump for probably about 6 months now, so I'm still in this work in progress too. Before I get that all out, and if I didn't get it all done, I didn't feel successful for the day. Come on, why are we always putting these success markers that like, hey, you're not successful if you don't get this done? Well, no, hey, I got a lot done today. That was awesome. I think I'm overbooking myself because that's my story that I've been telling myself. My story that I got to be overworked, overwhelmed, and just keep on going, going, going. So that brings me to my next piece is that when we look at our schedule, are we having enough white space? So if you have a Google Calendar or use the iCalendar or you use an actual planner itself, that white space really is booking, when you book out times in your day, like you got a meeting, you got to do this for work, you got to do this for family. Is there enough white space? That white space is you doing nothing. Maybe you going outside and walking. It's not on your schedule. Go outside. Get out in the nature. It could be you just simply just doing nothing, going to meditate. I don't know what your thing is. I just started meditating again. I feel super weird when I do it. But it's definitely something that I've challenged myself because I'm that go person. But that white space is huge to be able to give you that time to reflect or just give you that. So I'm actually giving you two aha feelings with the brain dump and the white space. The brain dump actually gives you the same effect as a massage. You better go get a massage too because it's really good for you to get out all those kinks, get out all those toxins, but also the white space as well. Because when we think about success, it's like, ooh, it's up here. Everything's here. We're holding the world on our shoulders. But when we take that step back, it's like, okay, we can have success. And it doesn't mean that you're not going to be stressed or overwhelmed and these things don't come up in your day, but it sure as heck means that you should really start enjoying the process and stop beating yourself up because of that old story. So most of you are, well into your 20s, well into your 30s, 40s, whatever it may be. You're adults, right? Put yourself out there and say, hey, that story was designed when I was a child. So are we acting like adults or children when we think about our day-to-day, our success, how we feel about ourselves? That story should be left in your childhood. And I understand that sometimes that perception is so hard to cut, but it is so necessary for us to step into today and say, you know what? That story hasn't been serving me. I want to find a new way to be able to have my story make me excited for the day, make me pumped up to continue to feel that success. So I want you guys to step away from today and just ask yourself, and so maybe if you're on right now, this is your white space. Your white space that you can just really just dig into the reasons why that story has been told to you every single day, aka you told yourself this every day. Because if it's coming from a person from your childhood or if it's coming from experiences, from before, you always got to ask yourself, is it happening right now? Because what happens with that story is that it starts to accumulate over the years, and it's honestly not even the same story that was probably told to you. And so really getting back to why it is an inside job. Because no one has to live with the doubt, the fear, the overwhelm, the uncertainty more than you do. So I could sit here and be like, hey, get a new story. Don't worry about it. It's awesome. Everything's great. But at the end of the day, you're the only one that has to live with it more than anyone else. So if that story is not yours, if that story is not what is moving your success to a positive, uplifting, I'm super motivated to do this every day, that story is not yours. Or you can keep on going with that story. You can keep on telling yourself that success is based off of what is in my bank account. Success is based off of, the status that I have. The success is based off of, what happiness is supposed to look like. White picket fence, polished everywhere. Everything is perfect. And I bring this at a very timely manner right before the holidays because we are always put into conversations with friends and families and acquaintances and saying like, hey, how's your work going? How's your job going? How's life? And it's like, if you don't feel like you're successful, you're going to get that gut feeling. Oh, man, I got to have this conversation again with Uncle Joe. I just made up a name. I'm going to have this conversation with Sally. I just made up like the most generic. I mean, but Joe and Sally are great names, but like literally I just went super generic. Keep generic. So to that point. But with that said, start to look at your success the way that you feel confident and you feel fulfilled, because that is when you're going to feel charged. So I appreciate you guys coming in today, and I appreciate it not being perfect. You got the dogs in the background, my Facebook Live, but that is honestly what this is all about. This podcast is to generate something inside of you that makes you feel empowered. It's generated to give you that grace. And so with that said, give yourself grace for yesterday, give yourself peace for today, and give yourself a plan tomorrow. And I will see you guys on the next episode. And you are more than enough to see success the way that your story writes it. Thanks, guys.